My name is Ayanna Berry, and I'm doing an injury data analysis specifically over ankle injuries in high school football. This information comes from Pearland High School Sports Medicine. An overview of ankle injuries in football. Ankle injuries are one of the most common injuries in high school football, frequent due to cutting, tackling, and landing mechanisms. Some of the injuries that happen are sprains, overuse pain, stress injuries, and also post-operative rehab cases. Some consequences of ankle injuries, lost time. So players have to miss out on practice and games and any other workouts that happen during season or off season. Chronic instability. Reoccurring sprains can lead to chronic pain and instability throughout their football career. Support needed, so they may need braces or any type of taping that the athletic trainers provide to them. Rehabilitation. Players may need rehabilitation from formal PTs or activity restrictions while playing football. Team impact, so it can impact the team overall. That may be a specific player that they go to for stuff, so this could impact the team overall. Data collection method. So I collected this data from Pearland High School. They use a source called Rank 1, and that's where I got the football treatment logs. This information comes from August 2024 to July 2025, so that entire school year. How it was collected. So I extracted the daily documentation entries that the ATs, they write their evaluations, mobilities, and rehabs and notes. And then also, I only included ankle-related encounters in this data analysis. Data analysis method. So after getting into Rank 1, I extracted that information using Excel. And when I extracted it from Excel, it had all injuries, all sports. So I was able to categorize all the information, and I categorized it by injury type, being ankle injuries, athlete grade. I used 9th through 12th grade, the date, the month that it happened, mechanism, and also the treatment that was provided to the student who had an injury. And then also with the guidance from my preceptor, they were able to help me find trends that happened throughout that year. So the athletic demographic. The demographic that I used was grade 9 through grade 12. And from this graph, you can see there were 16 9th grade injuries, 11 10th grade injuries, 7 11th grade injuries, and 2 12th grade injuries. My participation demographic, genders and level. All 36 athletes were male high school football players, grades 9 through 12. The training periods, the entire analysis was based off of off-season, spring football, SAC camp, and summer conditioning. Position data. Skill positions most commonly recorded. Most of the time, the athletes didn't put their actual position in it, but I was able to go back and look at rosters and figure out what was defense and what was offense. Injury types. There were 6 different types of injuries. The biggest type of injury that was had was just general pain. And then we have our ankle sprains, overuse or soreness, stress injuries, post-surgical, and then contusion. After the type of injury, I was able to look at whether the injuries happened on the right or the left side. So from my findings, I saw that right ankle injuries were slightly more common in right dominant athletes who plant and cut to their right, because that's what they're most comfortable with. But there were a lot of left ankle injuries, and then bilaterally low leg injuries as well, as what I saw with also an ankle injury. Mechanisms of injuries. So there were a ton of different ways that ankle injuries happen at the high school. For example, there were non-contact sprains, so that just happened to them. There were running and conditioning overuse, SAT camp soreness, and SAT camp is the camp that they called after postseason that usually happens right before Christmas and then going into off season in January into their fall ball. So that's SAT camp. The box jump related pain, helmet to ankle contusions, stress fractures, and post-op protection. So one of the most common trends that I found was that freshmen were most affected by ankle injuries. They had 40% of the ankle injuries that happened that school year for football. The most likely causes from this were neuromuscular control. It's weaker. They're just coming into high school football, and that can affect them. With that being said, intensity transition. It is a big transition coming from the middle school into the high school setting. So that is one of the biggest things, is the intensity level of that and the training volume. They're doing way more reps during drills. They're doing way harder drills. And then also strength training. A lot of our freshman athletes, they did not have a lot of previous strength training. So that was very much lacked compared to all other levels who have gone through a little bit of high school football. The second trend I found was a lot of the injuries were non-contact injuries. Examples from the data, some of the athletes had from box jump pain. From their off season, they are in the weight room and they do a lot of box jumps. Overuse or soreness, just them being sore, they're doing a lot of working out, and then also they're just putting their body through a lot more than they're used to. The third thing that I saw was from SAT camp, which is their camp postseason. That was also a lot of injuries happen. They're putting way more stress on their body than what they're used to. Running volumes, way more running, way more conditioning than they have done in previous years. And then also, lastly, a lot of the injuries that we're seeing were just maintenance visits of students and athletes who have had past injuries and are coming in to keep up the strength in their ankles. The third and most significant trend that I saw were most of these injuries happen during postseason and going into spring football. When they're coming back from Christmas break in January, injuries start to spike up, but definitely in March when spring football is hitting its max and the athletes are putting their bodies through a lot, and then also the training during that period is a lot more than usual. So during spring football, they're increasing the cutting of them, changing directions from drills. It's way longer practices, less recovery because the kids are just going at it again and again. And it's a high workload that spikes up as well. Why these trends occur? Neuromuscular control. Poor control and coordination in younger athletes leads to inefficient movement patterns. Inadequate proprioception, so that reduces ability to sense the position and movements of the body, increasing risks during dynamic tasks. Rapid workload increase, so sudden striking in training intensity or volume without adequate preparation is common during spring football. Weak stabilizers, underdeveloped peroneal muscles and hip stabilizers, compromise ankle stability during activity. High cutting volumes, frequent and forceful changes of direction place significant stress on ankle joints. And lastly, limited rest periods. The athletes are training, and so they have less recovery time in between practices, training sessions, and that can hinder tissue repair and adaptation. After looking at all this information and looking at all the trends, one of the proposed interventions that I came up with was neuromuscular training program. During these 6 weeks, athletes will work on balance training that will exercise to improve static and dynamic balance. They will also work on single leg stability, strengthening exercises for both lateral support, T-band eversion work, targeting resistance strengths for ankle stabilizers, landing mechanisms, so drills focusing on safety and efficient landing techniques, hip and glute strengthening, exercises to enhance proximal stability for ankle support, and then BOSU and the wobble board work, that will work on stabilizing surface training to challenge ankle stability. And then also proprioception drills, so activities to improve your body awareness and joint position sense. From this program, the expected outcome is to hopefully reduce 30 to 50% in non-contact ankle injuries, which were most common, especially in the freshman class. The second proposed intervention was lace-up ankle braces. This is recommended for all skilled positions, not just one position overall. High-risk positions with frequently cutting and moving, for example, wide receivers and linebackers and safeties. Also, freshman athletics could also use ankle bracing due to their high incident rate and development factors. And then athletes also with past ankle injuries could also benefit from wearing ankle braces to prevent reoccurring and providing additional stability while playing football. Evidence of this is lace-up braces that you tie have been shown to reduce ankle strains by 50 to 65% in high school football players overall. The third and last intervention is spring football load management. Strategies to mitigate injury risks. 4 of the things you can do is reduce cutting drill volume. So this is minimizing high intensity cutting focusing drills to manage joint stresses. Another strategy is mandate recovery days. Implement scheduled rest days to prevent overtraining and fatigue to accumulate over time. Incorporate mobility sessions. Integrating regular flexibility and range of motion exercises into daily routines can help the athletes go far in not pushing themselves too hard, but also staying mobile. And specifically for the freshmen, modifying their drills, adjusting high fatigue and complex drills to better suit the development stage for the freshmen. So this would be not going maybe as hard or taking it easy at first and then working your way up to more high intensity stuff later on in the season for spring football. The expected outcome for all of these to be implemented is to reduce the overuse injuries, particularly during the historic high incident period of April through May, which would be during spring football. Some key takeaways that I got from doing this data analysis. The first one I got was ankle injuries are common at Pearland High School, with 37 encounters documented. The second one was freshmen in spring football had the highest injury rate. The third takeaway that I got was that most injuries were non-contact related to overload or poor stability, which you think would be the opposite because football is such a physical sport, but a lot of the ankle injuries were happening from non-contact. The fourth and final takeaway that I got was a common approach of neuromuscular training, ankle bracing, and load management is predicted to significantly reduce ankle injuries incidents overall. Next steps moving forward, or recommendations that I would make, is implementing intervention in the beginning of preseason, so that the athletes are already gaining strength and stability in the ankles. Same with bracing. Do that beforehand to help prevent any ankle injuries. Next, I would track data for comparison from last season and this season. And then next, I would present my findings to the coaching staff and see if we can make any changes or if they also see something. Those would be my next steps moving forward. Thank you.